And like I said, he got that one to a T, because after holding a 1 hour and 17-minute news conference, the headlines accusing the president of assailing the media were everywhere. Here at Fox, we're all for fair and balanced and giving you the good and the bad. And since everyone was focusing on the failures, we thought we would point out, as we do each and every day, on the successes as well. We figure it's a 24-hour news network. We've got time. All right, so like Fiat Chrysler investing $1 billion, $1 billion, adding 2,000 jobs. Then there's GM investing $1 billion, adding or retaining 7,000 jobs. Intel, $7 billion, adding 10,000 jobs when all is said and done. You get the idea here. To Charles Payne, Charlie Gasparino, Amy Holmes is here, along with Gary Kalpom and Adam Lishinsky. Charles, first of all, thank you for hosting last week, although I thought it was tacky that you called it Payne on business. But what do you make of this? I mean, I always say Donald Trump, the good, the bad, get it all out there. But the president did have a point that there's a disproportionate amount of focus on my failures, focus on my failures.
Yeah, and you're being diplomatic. Let's face it. The media went to war with Donald Trump, the candidate. They really did. They dissed him every turn. They do not
like him, and they don't like him much better as president.
They treated him like a clown. They wouldn't cover him as a true politician. They really beat him up over and over and over again. He had to get a lot of stuff off his chest, and he did. But I think the American public enjoyed it as well, because the media has put themselves above everyone. They never ever pull out a mirror and look at themselves sometimes. And I understand the ideology, and most of them are left-leaning. But I think it's invaded their work to the point where they've lost a lot of credibility.
But I wonder if they can risk going too far. You know, you keep doing it. That some do a little bit of soul searching. I know CBS's John Dickerson was that Donald Trump didn't ruin our reputation. We did. I'm paraphrasing to make the point that some journalists are looking inward, not many.
Not very many. And Rasmussen reports we found consistently throughout the campaign that likely voters, they saw the media bias over and over. Even last month, you know, after the campaign is over, after Donald Trump has won the election, nearly half of likely voters saw the media being biased.
And that's the difference with your polling. You go to likely voters.
Politically engaged people.
Then how did you feel when the Washington Post called you guys outliers?
Outliers. Well, because the Washington Post picks the polls that forwards their narrative of Donald Trump not doing well, you know, in terms of public approval. But what I find ironic is the media used to love it when President Obama pointed out their bias. I was at the President Obama's first White House Correspondents' Dinner in 2009, where he looked out at the audience, 3,000 White House press correspondents, and he said, "Most of you covered me.
I remember that.
All of you voted for me." And you know what, Neil? They burst into laughter and applause in agreement. Yeah. They loved being called biased by President Obama.
That's interesting.
That was a mutual admiration society.
Absolutely.
Right? I think there was supposed to be a labor secretary announcement yesterday, though. Right? Wasn't he supposed to? I could have sworn.
That was brilliant. That was he made a quick reference to it, and then it was on to all the accomplishments.
I will say this. It was, what'd you say, an hour and a half? He answered
77 minutes.
He answered many questions, many more than President Obama.
He went to 17 reports.
Yeah, who
Is that right?
He would drone on.
Both of you were quite able.
He would drone on. President Obama would drone on for 45 minutes on one question. I mean, Donald Trump actually engaged the press.
And he took on his toughest questioners. He didn't avoid them.
Aside from his theatrics and some of his language, what he said, or how he said things, what he said was not wasn't crazy whatsoever.
I could not disagree with you more with what you're saying
when he talked about the Russian, all you liberals think that he's about to press the button and start World War III. If you think about what he said about the Russian submarine, he goes, I could have blew the.
All right, Adam, you're not buying it. Adam's not buying it.
No, and because, Neil, you know, I have fun with you when you call me a liberal or whatnot. I say, well, I don't really like labels. I like the label of being a journalist, and I could not disagree with the thrust of this conversation more. The media's job is to hold every president accountable. The president, when he rants and raves and whines about the treatment that he's getting, is doing a disservice to himself and to the country. They are doing
Adam,
their job.
I actually agree with that, but do you find that he might have a point when they disproportionately focus on the negative and leave out the positive? Now, you're a very fair-minded journalist. You'll mention, and I'm sure in your coverage you have, about these CEOs who come by and he extracts concessions out of them or job commitments out of them, while you're also mentioning the Flynn embarrassments and everything else. All I'm saying is do both. That's what good journalists should do.
And I think the operative word there, Neil, is disproportionate. The media has reported on these job gains, on the the concessions that he has actually won by using his bully pulpit.
Not nearly closely enough. I'm not saying
because it's not the biggest story.
But you just got my point there. And Gary, that's my worry. That I think that I'm not saying that to be a cheerleader. And by the way, I have no axe to grind. This guy avoids my show. He hates me personally. That's fine. It's okay.
He doesn't hate.
Well, hate is a strong word. Loathe, I think, comes to mind. But Gary, all I'm saying on this, is treat him fairly. Treat him fairly. And that I don't see. All respect, Adam notwithstanding.
If you turn on these networks and look at the bottom of this screen and look at the chyron, all you see are the words racist, radical,
finger on the button.
They throw around names. They throw around names like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini like it's vanilla ice cream. And I think Donald Trump has enough. In the last week, a reporter from the New York Times called the First Lady a hooker, and you know what happened to the reporter? Nothing. If a reporter said the same thing about Michelle Obama, they would be banished up to Mount Everest, dressed in shorts and a tank top, and be castigated by the media. It's just ridiculous what is going on at this point in time.
Right, and we're not even talking yet about what was exposed in WikiLeaks about top media people colluding with the Hillary Clinton campaign to try to give her an edge or try to butter them up.
We're also not talking about the campaign anymore.
Even running quotes.
Well, by the way, Adam's right on there. It's hard to hear that, but we're not talking about the campaign anymore.
We're not talking about the campaign, but we are talking about
that residual to Charles's point.
These are the same people from the campaign.
Let's be real clear. If you listen, every president's gone after the press. Remember Spiro Agnew? Obama complained about us incessantly.
But just you. I think it was really.
Yeah, it wasn't Sean or anybody or O'Reilly, right? But here's the interesting thing, though. I think if he does myopically focus on the media constantly, he's not going to get much done. Well,
that's where the markets come in, and that's, Charles, what I worry about, that this fixate on petty grudges on both sides stymies what the markets do want to see him do, and I'm wondering to the degree that he's screwed. You know what I mean? Like that the tax cuts, everything else, they know he can be distracted, and they will distract him to the point that his agenda goes kaput.
Although he did interject at some, in the midst of all of that, he did kind of give us a timeline on Obamacare and taxes. He gave us enough in there that the Dow closed up that day. So,
the Dow's still up a lot year to date, up a lot since his election, but almost priced to perfection, and losing sight of the fact that the thing that could undo it is this kind of stuff.
But this kind of stuff, but also let's not forget, though, that the night Donald Trump was elected, the equity futures showed that the market was going to crash.
That's right. That's right.
He came out that night, though, with an eloquent acceptance speech. It was followed up by acts that we were told could never happen by Donald Trump, by acts of presidentialness that we think that we put in the central casting.
And an economic plan. And a pretty solidified.
But what I'm trying to say is that I think he'll pivot at the right time. I don't think every press conference can be like this, but I think the first one, he had to get a lot off his chest.
But I also think it serves another purpose, which is by showing the media bias. And I would say with the New York Times story about Mike Flynn and FBI investigations, the Washington Post, what Donald Trump is also doing is blunting the impact of those stories on his administration.
He can't avoid them.
He's actually
Adam, blunting their impact.
He's actually elevated.
Where do you see this going on? Do you think part of the agenda, if there's an agenda, I know you do not subscribe to that view, but part of the agenda is here, let's get him so rattled or so sidetracked that none of this ever happens, which might be the goal.
Yeah, I mean, the ball is in his court. If he behaves with decorum and the way we expect a United States president to behave in public, the media will focus on what he's talking about.
You better behave with decorum.
Adam,
the onus isn't on the media.
Yes, it is.
The onus is on the president.
I want everyone to be nice to everyone.
Adam, what's the craziest thing he said yesterday? What's the craziest thing he said yesterday?
This week.
It's his tone. He's representing the entire United States.
That was crazy? What did he say that was crazy?
Crazier than you
nothing
are.
that was crazy.
Come on, Charlie.
And Donald Trump that Lyndon Johnson used to have meetings on a porcelain throne. Give me a break.
Well, Adam's upset because he said. No, he did say that I'm rubber, Adam is glue, whatever he say, bounces off me. I'm kidding. Everyone hug.